Why don't you speak to your father? People always ask me this when they find out my dad lives 20 minutes away and we haven't talked in 4 years. They assume it's some big dramatic fight or that he was abusive. But the truth is way more messed up than that. My dad wasn't a bad guy growing up. He worked construction, coached my little league team, taught me how to change oil in his garage. Pretty normal father-son stuff. We weren't super close, but we weren't enemies either. The problem started when I was in college. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer during my sophomore year, stage 3. The doctor said she needed aggressive treatment immediately. Chemotherapy, radiation, possibly surgery. Dad seemed to handle it okay at first. He drove her to appointments, helped her when she was sick from chemo. I came home every weekend to help out. We were all scared, but we were dealing with it as a family. Then mom started losing her hair. That's when dad got weird. He stopped sleeping in their bedroom, started working longer hours, sometimes not coming home until after mom was already asleep. When I asked him about it, he just said work was busy and mom needed her rest, but I could tell something else was going on. Mom would try to wear scarves and wigs around the house, but dad would barely look at her. When she tried to hold his hand or hug him, he'd find excuses to pull away. The worst part was how mom started blaming herself. She'd ask me if I thought she looked terrible, if she understood why dad might need space. I kept telling her she looked beautiful and that dad was just stressed about work. I was lying. I could see what was happening, but I didn't want to believe my own father could be that shallow. The breaking point came during Thanksgiving of my junior year. Mom had finished her first round of chemo and was feeling good enough to cook dinner. She spent all day in the kitchen, wearing this bright yellow headscarf, excited to have the whole family together. She made dad's favorite stuffing recipe, the green bean casserole he always requested. She even baked 2 pies from scratch. The whole house smelled amazing. When dad came home from work that evening, mom was setting the table. She was humming to herself, genuinely happy for the first time in months. She looked up when he walked in and said, "Perfect timing, everything's almost ready." Dad took one look at her, really looked at her for the first time in weeks, and his face just changed, like he was seeing her cancer for the first time and couldn't handle it. He grabbed a beer from the fridge and said, "Actually, I promised the guys I'd stop by Murphy's Bar tonight, don't wait up." Mom's face crumbled. She'd spent all day cooking this elaborate meal, hoping to feel normal again, and dad just walked out to go drinking with his buddies on Thanksgiving. I found her crying in the kitchen 20 minutes later, still wearing her apron and that yellow headscarf. The turkey was getting cold on the counter. That's when she finally told me the truth. Dad hadn't touched her in 3 months, hadn't said she looked pretty or even held her hand since she started losing her hair. He'd been sleeping in the guest room, claiming he didn't want to disturb her sleep. But really, he just couldn't handle being married to a woman with cancer. The next day, I confronted him in the garage, asked him point blank why he was treating mom like she had some contagious disease instead of supporting her through the hardest time of her life. His response still makes me sick to think about. "You don't understand what it's like," he said, not even looking up from the engine he was working on. "I didn't sign up for this. When I married your mother, she was beautiful. This isn't what I expected." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man who'd raised me, taught me about loyalty and commitment, was basically saying he only loved mom when she was healthy and pretty. I told him he was being a selfish coward, that mom needed him more than ever, and he was abandoning her when she was fighting for her life. He just shrugged and said, "Sometimes life doesn't work out how you planned." Mom died 8 months later. Not from the cancer, the treatment actually worked. She died from pneumonia because her immune system was still weak from chemo. Dad cried at the funeral, put on this whole grieving widower act for all the relatives and neighbors. People kept telling me how sorry they felt for him, losing the love of his life so young. I wanted to scream. He'd already lost her the day he decided her bald head was too ugly to look at. After the funeral, Dad tried to reconnect with me, said we needed to stick together now that it was just the two of us. He wanted to have dinner every Sunday, go to baseball games like we used to, but I couldn't forget how he'd treated mom during her final year, how he'd made her feel like a burden instead of a wife, how she died thinking her own husband found her repulsive. The last conversation we had was 2 years ago. He called on my birthday, drunk, crying about how much he missed mom and wished things had been different. I told him he had his chance to be different while she was alive, and he chose to be selfish instead. He hasn't called since. Sometimes I wonder if I should reach out, but then I remember mom crying in that yellow headscarf, and I just can't forgive him.